Okay, so you get into your Dodge Caravan, turn on the ignition, and the oil light comes on. What could be the problem? First thing you want to do is you want to check your oil level, make sure it's not low. And if that checks out just fine, then what could it be? Well, it could be that your oil pump is bad. Probably not. 4 grand Caravans, I've never had one going bad. Change my oil regularly, take care of it. Could also mean that the wire harness going to the sensor is bad, broken, damaged. Or the more likely cause can be that the sensor has gone bad. Fairly common on this model of van. Seems pretty straightforward and simple to replace it. But there are some catches, and I'm going to review that with you because I am on my 4th sensor in about 6-8 months. Could be the fact that they're junk sensors from China, that's what everybody wants to sell, or it could be that I did not install it properly. So let's get started. Okay, that is the sensor right here above your oil filter, and as you can see, it's leaking like crazy from where the plastic housing is crimped onto the metal base. Oil all over the place here. It's made a big mess. There's also going to be oil inside the connector because inside here there's a little breather hole, and oil is all through the whole assembly. Now this is the first sensor I bought. Also started leaking here. Took about 3-4 months. Then the oil light came on, and I looked under the car, found it leaking, and when I installed it, the closest I had was a 27mm socket, which a little loose, but it does fit in there. I didn't use a torque wrench or anything. There's very little room to work under the vehicle. But one thing you'll notice is that the nut on here has no corners. And what I've since learned is that the reason for that is if you're using the wrong size socket like I did and you put pressure on the corners, it will distort this metal and this crimp here, because this plastic part is crimped into place. It'll start leaking under there. So is it my fault that it started leaking? I don't know. So, and then I bought a second one off of Amazon, paid twice the price. This was about $7-8 locally. Got that. It was supposed to be standard motor products, but instead it was just looked exactly like this, wrapped in bubble pack, no box, nothing. So personally, I think they ripped me off. If you're going to order through Amazon, buy only products that are sold and shipped by Amazon. So I went on to Rock Auto, and I got this sensor, which is made by NGK, reputable, always had good luck with their products. First thing I noticed is that they actually put a dust cap over the end of the plug. They also have a thick coating of sealant on the threads. This one looked like they wiped white out onto it. And I also bought a socket specifically for an oil pressure sensor. Now this is 1 1/16, which is the size we need to use, and it fits in there nicely. It's also made deep so that you can get the plastic end in. Sadly, it's actually a little bit bigger than the impact socket that I used before, because as you're going to see, there's real little room to work, and I don't know if I'll be able to get the torque wrench onto the end of this. But this one also has, I can put a 7/8 inch wrench over this end to tighten it, so I don't have to worry about getting my ratchet into place in there. There are cheaper ones. This one is by Power Built. Got it on eBay. Amazon has the same price. Talking about 12 bucks. There are cheaper ones, and they're on Rock Auto, they're on eBay, they're on Amazon. They have like 2 grooves carved in there. A lot of complaints as far as quality. Could do the job for you. One guy complained that it stripped out up here. Other people are complaining that there's burrs or they can't get the sensor into there. Thing is, it's a tool you're only going to really use once. It's only good for this sensor. Why? Because unlike a regular socket, this one has flats in the corners, just like there's no corners on here. There's no corners in the socket either. So you're not going to fit a standard bolt nut into this socket here, into this socket. So tools are never a bad investment. It's good to have it, so if I ever need to do this job again, I have the tool on hand. And also the cheaper ones up here, it is a hex on the top of the socket, but it's 1 1/8. So great if you have a 1 1/8 inch wrench, which I actually do, but a lot of people don't have them in that size. So you know, you'll have an easier time accommodating this. Okay, I've unplugged mine already, just so that you could see where this little red lock is. That's the unlocked position. The fat end is the part that you want to push to, well, my left, and then you'll be able to squeeze the connector and pull it off the sensor up there. It was drenched in oil. I had to spray it out to get it cleaned up. And if you're lucky, it will be positioned where you can actually see this red lock. 9 out of 10 times it's up top or whatever, you can't even see it, and you're going to have to work around in order to get a little screwdriver in there and get that unclipped, and then you can unplug it. Okay, now you can see how little room we have to work because of this air conditioning pipe, but I'll be able to get right in there with that, and I'll use my 7/8 on the end there to spin that thing off. Okay, the old one's out, and the old one left little bits of what appear to be Teflon tape in the threads, which is not good. Got as much of it out as I possibly humanly could. And of course it wants to put up a fight. Give me a second. Okay, got my sensor threaded on there. Got my socket on there. I cannot get the torque wrench in there though. If you do, you're going to wind up cocking this socket to the side, and then you run the risk of snapping that plastic housing on the sensor, and then it would be all over. So I'm just going to use my 7/8, and I'm just going to tighten this down probably 3/4 of the way, just until the sealant is just about all the way in to the housing, and leave it at that. The instructions say that after you get the engine up to operating temperature and driven a little bit, double check to make sure that it's not leaking, and also tighten it down a little farther. So that's the instructions that come with this NGK. Okay, I got it on there, and after I got it to where I thought was good or getting close, I turned it until the clip is facing downwards. That way I have easy access to it, and that way if I have to remove this in the future, it won't be such a headache getting that red clip undone. So now it's just a matter of plugging it back in, refilling the car with oil, etc., etc., and seeing how it worked out. And just make sure the innards of the plug don't come out along with the sensor. That's the blue part that you see in there. I had to stick it back in along with, there's a little rubber seal that's in there. And that is done in place. Let me crank it up.